Hello and welcome. Today we have a wonderful guest. We have Hadon McKinley, who is a life coach, a former corporate overachiever who now helps ambitious but also overwhelmed women who look successful on the paper but feel disconnected from their lives. She helps people with coming out of burnout, and we talked about the nervous system regulation. We talk about how can we bring in tiny little shifts to allow ourselves the generosity of doing what is our best today to break free from the cycles of repeating burnout. So she brings in lots of wonderful neuroscience insight behind burnout and gives us the tools to reclaim our energy, confidence, and clarity so we can really live our best life. So let's go into this fantastic conversation with Hadon.
As normal, before we start, this is a reminder. And people, it's free. Hit that subscribe button. It won't cost you a penny, a cent, a dollar, or anything. Just hit that subscribe. It is free to join us. And the reason we love you to hit that subscribe is so we can grow our reach. We can reach those people who really need to hear what our guests have to say, especially our episode today. We need to reach those over ambitious and hardworking women to help them to not get burnt out. So hit subscribe, it's free. But now let's start with this beautiful conversation.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode. Today we have the lovely Hadon McKinley here with us. Hi, Hadon.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. So tell us and our listeners to get started with a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do. But also, I'm always curious, what is it that gives you the fire in the morning, the excitement in the morning to do what you do? What is it that really gives you the passion for the line of work you're in?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a burnout coach, largely for professional women. And I got into this because I learned about burnout the hard way, and I learned how to get out of it the hard way. The thing that's interesting about burnout is that it actually can happen in cycles, and we often kind of dismiss it, like I'm burnt out, and I'll go on vacation and everything will be better. The problem is that it's actually burnout is nervous system deep. And if we don't fix our nervous system and how our patterns exist and how everything in our unconscious and the nervous system, how it's working, no matter what we do, the positive mindset, the I can do this, all those mantras and the affirmations and, the mindfulness and all of that, it's not going to stick. And so I work with a lot of women who have been through burnout, and they're like, I talked to someone, I saw a therapist, I rested, I did the things, but then they always revert back to the old habits. And it's because most of the women I work with are incredibly high achievers. They want to be the best, they work the hardest, they want to be that superwoman to everyone in their lives. And so they dive headfirst into everything. If it's journaling, if it's meditation, if it's some new fitness program, everything, they just go headfirst 110%. And it lasts for a little while until life starts getting messy again. And then everything falls off, and then they get hard on themselves for, I wasn't able to stick with it. I can't do it. It didn't work and everything like that. So what I do is I work through micro shifts, just little tiny little expectations so that we actually build long-term systems that stop us from hitting burnout again. And so the what gets me going every morning, wakes me up and keeps me here is helping other women discover what took me years to discover, and being able to share with them the information that, I've done all this education and training, and it took me years to figure out really what the problem is. And it's funny but sad to me that these women, they put so much effort into everyone and everything in their lives, and they just miss this little step. It's just a little, brick in their path that they miss, and it's taking care of their nervous system. And people think like, the nervous system, it's like this mystic thing. What is that? What do I do with it? And it's really actually simple to reset. And the quickest way to do it is just through our breath. And so, there's different things we can do with like the vagus nerve and things like that. But it's actually easy to do. People don't realize how easy it is. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
That's, I want to say awesome. It's not awesome that we live in a society that pushes us towards burnout, that it's such a common thing that pretty much everyone has been through it once or twice or three times. But what is, I think, the good news right now is that we can start stopping the cycle, and we can start making shifts right now. And I love that we're having this conversation at the beginning of the year, where lots of people already maybe in this new year, new me, let's make 2026 the best year yet, and I'm gonna break free, and I'm gonna, come out of this cycle, and I'm gonna be happier and healthier and live to the fullest. Or we may have the people who are like, I'm done with this. I have no New Year's resolutions. I just can't be bothered. I'm just gonna cruise and kind of like try to just survive, who almost have given up on trying. What would you say to women on kind of both ends? The ones who are starting with like, yes, 1st of January, I started new journaling challenge, new yoga challenge. I have goals. I'm gonna really like smash this year and it's gonna be epic. But also to those who are like, who cares? New year, whatever. I'm done. I'm tired. I can't. I just want to quit and cuddle under a blanket. And obviously, there is a little bit of the wintering still happening in the northern hemisphere, which is fine. Not everyone has to be like, let's go. But there still, with so many people, there's so much of the hibernation of like, I'm giving up, dread kind of a thing. And I think there are slightly different types of challenges, but I would be curious how we would approach these two types of clients coming your way right now. When like, I know that burnout is the cause, but I'm either in the overly motivated, I'm just gonna power through it, I'm gonna just make burnout my bitch, or I'm gonna just like, I'm not gonna do anything about it. I'm just gonna, chill on a sofa and sleep, and I'm just gonna just hide.
Yep. Honestly, it's the same answer for both of them, but for slightly different reasons. It's really through those micro shifts, because with that person who's like, I'm going to go, I'm going to get it, I'm going to get everything, I'm going to be this, this year is going to be my year, and they're pumped and they're excited and they're ready to go. That energy doesn't last. Sadly, it doesn't. And consistency is through showing up through the good and the bad. It's, showing up when I'm at 100%. It's showing up when I'm at 20%. And so I try to work with people on giving themselves grace, working with little adjustments, little shifts here and there. We don't dive in head first and expect everything to change in a day. It's, the compounded interest that builds with doing a small thing every single day. And so I don't ask my clients to wake up an hour early and meditate and go for a walk and do their journaling and their mindfulness and all this stuff. That to me is just way too much noise. It's too much crap, and it's not sustainable when things get hard. But for me, what works for me is I wake up in the morning, I do a light workout, and then I shower and stuff, get my kids up, and then I do some journaling. But it's not an hour. It's not high intensive. And some days I don't do as well as others. Some days I don't get up for the workout. Like I've been having the migraines lately. So I don't get up for the workout. And it's hard to not get down on yourself sometimes. But you have to give yourself some grace, step back a little bit and go, okay, I'm human. I'm human. I'm doing the best I can today. Today, I may only be at 20%. So, what can I accomplish today at 20% that I will be thankful for 6 months from now or a year from now? Versus, so many New Year's resolutions are done by February. People fall off of them and just don't continue on. And so I really try to focus on those little shifts. And then the same for that person who is just done. They're fed up, they're over it, and they're done. And we used to live up in Minot, North Dakota, which is just south of Canada. And so it's the Arctic tundra, it's freezing, winter is awful. You get snow drifts as high as your house. And all you want to do is bundle up and cuddle up under a blanket and stuff like that. And so the thing is what can I do right now? What can I do today? If I write down one thing I'm grateful for and allow myself just a few minutes to feel that gratefulness, then that's one shift. It's one moment. It's one moment of feeling that joy and that happiness and being engulfed in it, and then being proud of yourself for giving yourself that moment. And so you kind of find out when you're in that season of, I'm just done. I'm over it all. F it. I'm done. When you find yourself there and you can actually give yourself credit for those small moments, for those, I smiled and I hugged my kid and I was really in that moment. When you can give yourself credit for those little things start to compound. And over time, they build more momentum, they build more impact, they build more power, and you kind of feel yourself start to shift. And that's when you start shifting your nervous system, your unconscious, kind of everything. And so it's really all in small moments, which is funny because I'm seeing on LinkedIn now, I'm seeing tons of posts and everyone uses the same picture. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's an image of like shot glasses with like espresso or something in them. And one is 100% full and the next is like little bitty drops and then half full. And they're kind of all over the place. And, it's not, consistency is not showing up 100% every single day. It's showing up when it's hard. And it's showing up when it's hard. And it's going to be hard when you roll out of bed and you're like, today is going to suck, but I'm still going to show up and I'm going to take a step. I'm going to choose to see one good thing. You know what I mean?
There is a lot of honoring yourself in where you are at the point. I think it's what I'm hearing and what I love about what you're saying is, it's not about, again, stopping and not doing anything and going all in on self-care and only doing, wellness and self-care and self-love and relaxing things. But it is about adjusting those things and acknowledging, like today I'm on 50%. Today, like if I can go and have a shower, it's a success in my books, but I know it's not going to be every single day, and I'm not going to just wallow in the fact that today was just a shower day. I'm going to take it as it is.
Yeah, it's so funny to me because here in the United States, it's like women think that bubble bath with the candles in my romance novel or whatever, that's self-care. And it's so funny to me because I hate bubble baths. I hate them. Right? I don't like sitting in the hot water just kind of feeling like soup or something. It's weird to me. I don't like it. I've never really enjoyed it. And so it's funny to me when people are like, oh, I can't wait to go take a hot bath. And I'm like, oh, why? And to some people, a massage is that self-care in that moment. or, you know, a mani-pedi, like something like that. And for me, those things don't give me the lasting joy. It's kind of just for the moment. And you have to, the part of the problem is a lot of people, while they're even doing that thing, while they're, you know, getting a massage or getting a mani-pedi, something like that, their head is somewhere else. And so they're not even enjoying that moment. They're not taking that moment. They're not letting their bodies recover because they're on to the next thing. And that's where a lot of it comes in making sure that you are present so that we can build the calmness. You can let your mind slow down, and then that's when clarity starts to come too. So when you're overthinking and you're like, what about this and this, if you can just tell your mind for a second, like, you know what, later, oh, later, I'll deal with this later. This is for after lunch me. This is for me tomorrow. This is future Hayden's problem. That's what I tell myself. And when you can do that and you can allow yourself to be present in the moment, it's so funny because that's when like this clarity comes, this clarity of, oh, I had spent hours thinking about this thing and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get it to work. It was, you know, it drains your energy. It does all the things to you. And then when you step away, you gain that clarity. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that was easy. All I had to do was this one thing, you know, and it takes you 5 minutes to fix. You're not spending the hours that you have been. And it's so funny to me because the just building in presence into your system is so powerful. And I love your cat. And it's funny because people have lost the ability to be present and to allow themselves to slow down enough to be present, to enjoy a moment and not think about 10 steps down the road, especially the women I work with. Oh my gosh, they do this to themselves over and over and over again, where they have to be the perfect mom and they have to be the perfect employee and the perfect wife and the perfect daughter, friend, you know, all these things. And so there's so much pressure to be all the things that they don't just give themselves that moment of pleasure, of smile, of being, of joy with their kids, you know, with the mom, look at me for the millionth time in a row. Like I remember I used to get so annoyed with my kids. I'd be like, I've seen it 1,000 times. You've done the same thing 1,000 times. And now I can look at it as just them. They're playing. They want mom's attention. They just want to show off. And it's so cute and funny to me now that I can be fully into it. But, you know, I sadly I missed years of my kids doing that stuff because I was so burnt out and I was so focused on work and my head was always in a million different places that I couldn't be there for my kids. I couldn't be there in that moment and laugh and be joyful with them or even get up and join them with this dance that they want to show me, you know. So, yeah, it's crazy where we can go with burnout. But
It also sounds like a lot of guilt and a lot of this shoulding. You know, I should complete this list. I should do this. I should be this. I should. And Lenka and I often talk about shoulding all over yourself. And then, you know, with the shoulding comes this guilt is, oh, I should be 100%. I should be doing this. And then you feel guilty because you're not doing it. And then it's finding that, getting rid of that guilt and just like, okay, it's not going to happen today. It's a slow day today. And especially as women, I mean, we live our lives in cycles and we're reminded of the cycle every month, you know, and you have your energetic days and you have days where it's just like, this isn't going to happen. You know, just be grateful I got out of bed. You know, just be grateful that I'm having a cup of coffee and I can have a coherent conversation. And this is about all I can handle for today. and then that shoulding comes in. Yeah, yes, but yesterday I was like this, and I had my list of what I had to do today, and therefore I should be doing it because it should get done. And then there's that guilt instead of just stepping back and thinking, well, actually, it's the time of the month when I'm just got less energy, and instead of shoulding is maybe just making a list. So those I should be doing, it's like, okay, I'll make a put that on my list for when I have full energy, because then a week later you're like the energizer bunny, I can do this, I can do this. And that's when you do all those activities for when you are feeling slower. And as self-employed, or it's easier to find that balance. But when you're employed, you obviously, you got to turn up at work at 9, you got to be productive. 5 o'clock, you're done. Then you go home and you're now starting your home life in a way. And then it's how do you find that balance of the slow days and just not being as productive, especially if you're in an employed situation where not all bosses want you to hear, well, listen, I'm having a slow day. It's that time of the month, or you know what, it's just not gonna happen. They're not interested, they don't care. And it's usually a man you might have to explain this to. And I'm sure I've had this experience, and I'm sure many of our women listeners have had this experience. It's just your time of the month. Stop being such a drama queen. Oh, just deal with it. What's wrong with you? You get this attitude. So how would you help clients who are employed and they have this boss, or this they need to be productive, but the last thing they feel is productive? Their brain is most probably not firing on all cylinders because it's just slowing down. I mean, also women in perimenopause and menopause, your brain also just totally goes haywire and doesn't function when you want it to function. What would you recommend for our listeners and your clients? How do you deal with being employed when you know that you are tired, you are slow, but you don't want to get to the point of burnout?
Yep.
How can you balance that?
So it's funny to me because so you bringing this up, I just a few days ago I was watching a podcast or something, and it was Jeff Bezos talking about how he manages his time. And I thought it was amazing because he talks about, and we're talking about I think he's a billionaire now, right? But he was talking about he has putter time in the morning where he putts around. And he's like, that's non-negotiable time. It is my non-negotiable. I get it every day. My kids know it. My wife knows it. Everybody knows this is my putter time. And he's very deliberate around that time. And he has his coffee, he gets some reading in, and he kind of shuffles around in his slippers, and he does all this stuff. And then what he does is he separates his day into high IQ and low IQ. And so his morning, because he knows he's most productive in the morning, his morning meetings are his high IQ meetings. So things that take a lot of processing power and thinking, those are his morning meetings. Things that he can be like, let's talk about this tomorrow. Let's push this off. He does those meetings in the afternoon. And I thought that was fantastic because it's someone who manages around his energy. And I do something quite similar. I know that by the end of the week, every week, Thursday, Friday, my energy starts dropping. So that's when I schedule my fun things. So like this podcast being on a Thursday, these are my fun things that I love doing. I love engaging with people, and I love any of my fun projects. I plan them later in the week because Monday, Tuesday, those are my high power, I'm focused, I'm in it days. So that's when I do the work I don't really want to do, but I know I need to. And then my fun days are my reward for what I get done. Or if I don't get something done on Monday, Tuesday, I can shift my Thursday, Friday, and kind of push those things to like the weekend or something. but that's how I manage my time. And women I know that are in corporate environments, places where they don't get so much to schedule things like that. I have women who have done like open office times. So from like 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., they have an open office. So all of their employees know that they can go talk to her during that time. It's like an open door policy. So I've seen things like that where women plan their energy kind of accordingly to that. But some women, like maybe that time needs to be later in the day because they're like, but you can plan those intentional times throughout your day. And when you get that pressure from bosses, people who are, deadline, you can arrange things within your schedule so that you're like, you know what, this is my focus today. I know that you need that, but this thing is higher priority, and that's where my focus is right now, and that's where I've blocked my time off right now. So if this is more important than that, I can shift, but you have to let me know that this is more important than that. And so opening that communication with bosses, employees, coworkers, and different people like that, and letting them know I'm focusing on this. This is how my week was planned. I had to organize everything around meetings and obligations and all of these things. And so this is where my focus is this week. Can we push that to next week? So if you can verbalize where your focus is versus my energy is low. Because people don't take that very well in the corporate world. And where I am right now, there's a lot of Department of Defense work, military, things like that. And I used to be military. And so you can't really walk in and go, hey guys, my energy is really low today. So I'm going to be taking it easy. I know you can't do that in the corporate world, but what you can do is be intentional with how you block out your calendar and your days. And so you can plan around when you know your energy is going to be low. Like for me, I think I'm going through perimenopause, but but I don't pay attention to it, so I'm not fully aware. So but I can tell you, around my cycle, it ebbs and flows. It's really interesting because I know a lot of women who can, right before my cycle, I get really low energy, and that's not consistent with me personally. And so I plan based on my week, with the higher energy at the end of the week, well, lower energy at the end of the week with things I want to do. So that I'll still do it. So it's really about knowing your body, how you work, and working with your intention. Like I see these things all the time of like the 6 daily habits that you need for a fantastic life. Do these 6 things every day, and there are posts and stuff everywhere. And it's like, and by the end of it, you've got a check mark list of 90 things you're supposed to do every single day. And it's like, that's overwhelming in itself. You can't do that. And so knowing yourself, being present and self-aware enough to know how your energy ebbs and flows and how you can work that into a daily calendar and a schedule is really where the power is. That's where the empowerment and the confidence comes from. I used to have to do that quite a bit with my schedule when I was in corporate America, because it was like I had to be very conscious of how my time was scheduled and when I would have to interact with certain people. And so there would be times where it was like, I don't want to deal with this person. And so I'd plan in like 10, 15 minutes prior to that meeting of like breathing, like prep work for my interaction with that person. And you can do things like that, and you can do micro resets. And I have a lot of women nurses in particular. So nurses go constantly, right? They don't get a break. They're on their feet. They're doing all these things. So they don't get 10, 15 minutes to just sit. They can't plan that into their day. But what they can do is every time I walk by this desk, or every time I walk through a particular doorway, I take a breath, and they start building in those cues for a micro reset where it's like deep exhale through this doorway, deep exhale past that counter, deep exhale by this patient or, whoever. And when they start making that a habit pattern, that's when their body starts relaxing and working a little bit better with the day. So yeah, that's that's how I manage time and energy. So,
and I think it's a lot about learning your, like you say, your energy and your cycle patterns and what happens when. I know we've had a guest talking about women's cycles and perimenopause and menopause, but it's also just being aware within your cycle, what are your high energy days, what are your low energy days, and just being aware, then you can work your schedule around that. As you said, you have your high energy or high impact days, Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays and Fridays is where you do your fun stuff, because you've worked out that works for you, and that might not work for everybody. I know that myself, my brain seems to function better in the mornings than it does in the afternoons. So in the afternoons, I like to do things that don't require a lot of thinking and analyzing and trying to remember stuff. Whereas in the morning, I'm good with that. But it's just working out, is paying attention to yourself. And I guess this is also where you can start to see if you are coming or getting towards burnout, just this power through, let me just power through. But it's like, no, hang on a minute. My cycle, the way I work is like this. So therefore, don't just power through, allow that space. And as you said, is schedule your work ways of doing it. And you mentioned nurses. I mean, they're running up and down and on their feet for, I know in the UK, for like 12 hours a day per shift. But then when you having the low time is, okay, how can I deal with the shift that I've got when I'm low, and what to do. And I love that, before you walk into a room, take a breath and just, so instead of, power walking everywhere, and unless, the blue code and alarms are going off, you don't always have to power walk wherever you're going, is maybe just being a bit slower, being a bit more present in a way. And I'm sure a lot of patients would appreciate your slow days, because then you can maybe just be there a little bit longer with them. And it's just learning yourself, learning what works for you. Because I'm there's three of us here, and I'm sure each and every single one of us has a different way and different cycles and different what works differently. And it's just finding that balance. And then also, as you said, is communicating, is most probably just verbalizing it instead of just saying, it's a slow day. It's like, I'm focusing on this project because it's important or whatever. It's just finding a way to verbalize what you're going through without saying, I'm having a slow day, so I'm going to be on the couch eating a bar of chocolate or something. It's just finding a way to communicate, finding a way that you can work with yourself. It's not always an easy way to do it, but I'm thinking that when you acknowledge yourself and start to work within what works for you, burnout then is something that you can hopefully avoid, or then know how to, cure is not quite the right word, but how you can heal yourself from burnout and not fall into that trap again. So it's really about learning and understanding how you as an individual works around the world that tells you how you should be working.
And 100%. Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting too, because, talking about slowing down just for a minute, a lot of people, especially women in corporate culture, nursing, some of those high stress fields, slowing down is not safe for their nervous system. And the thing that people don't understand is that your unconscious and your nervous system, their job is to keep you safe. That is their job. That is their primary role. They keep you safe. And safety can even mean keeping you stuck or keeping you in past pain or keeping you in burnout, because that's the lived experience. That's the state that it is used to operating in. And so it will keep you there. And so you have to train your nervous system and teach it, it's okay for me to step back for a minute. It's okay for me to take a breath. It's okay for me to slow down for a second. That is safe. This is safe for me. And you have to teach your nervous system that. And I've gone through it in the past, and I'm going through it right now with like some expansion in my business and stuff, where it's like, it's okay. This is good. This is safe. My body is safe. Everything is fine here. I can step back for a minute and I can take a breath and I can give myself that grace and that calm. And it's really interesting how when we do that, when we give our body room to be safe, miraculous things start to happen, and we get these insights and this clarity and this focus that we never could have perceived, and we also could never reach it when we are in that state of burnout. When we are burnt out, you can't physically get to the level of focus that you need and the clarity and being able to look at things analytically and strategically. And it's how that happens is our body, when we're in that fight, flight, or freeze state, and if we live there, our bodies produce more cortisol, more stress hormone, and all of that. And the thing about those hormones is that they make it so that we cannot be logical. We cannot process information. We can't do it. And so when we're in that heightened state, we get this kind of panic, and we feel like, oh no, I have to do this thing. Well, it's going to take you longer. It's going to be frustrating. You're not going to be able to get through it. Step back, take a minute, give yourself a breath, and then come back to it. Because when you calm down and you have that clarity, then you can actually think through it differently because of how the chemicals in our bodies get all wrapped up in everything. It's so interesting. It's crazy to me. And like my kids, I try to tell them all the time. My 10-year-old, she's almost 10. My oldest daughter, with homework, she gets into this thing where she starts crying, and it's this whole cycle. And I try to you get stupid when you act like this. And she's like, oh, I'm not stupid. And I'm like, no, I know you're not stupid, but like this spelling word, I asked it of you 5 minutes ago and you could spell it, but now you can't. Your brain can't do that now because of the state that you're in. And you did this to yourself. You worked yourself up. You built all this up in your system. And now you can't process. You can't process information. So let's take a minute, go do another thing, come back, and we'll try it again. And she's like, and she'll walk away and come back and be like, okay, mom. And she'll do it all right, and she gets all the spelling words right and stuff. But she gets so worked up in herself and in her system that she can't think. And that's how we get into like anxiety and all the stress and all these different things, and the results we get from all of that is that we can't function. And it's because we've built up all those bad hormones in our body that don't let us think logically. So it's crazy. I love the science behind it. It's amazing.
It's incredible. And you touched on something so important that I think we're only now getting the hang of it, the understanding that we can't think ourselves out of, burnout, out of anxiety, out of frustration. We can't use our logical, conscious thinking, incredible brains, because as you said, there's so much going on in terms of the hormones, in terms of the chemicals, just making our brains kind of not work, like making us, act stupid, feel stupid, be stupid. And it's not that we are, but it is really that our cognitive functions are so impaired and we cannot use our brain to fix that. We need to bring in, and I know early on you touched on breath work or, mindfulness or go out or grounding or anything. And I think it's so wonderful to bring in even the safety of like the nervous system, that there are so many things built up in the body that then one thing can unlock the other thing, then, this thing heals and it allows another layer of the body come back into the system and kind of overwhelm us again with emotions. But I'd love a little bit more if you have few more insights or tips or stories on how we can then use our bodies to help us through this. Is there a specific breath work you do? Is there a specific grounding, method you do? Is there something that we can, okay, I don't need the brain, I need the body. How do I activate the body? How do I feel in touch with myself so then the brain can clean itself and be like, oh, okay, I'm online again.
The biggest and the quickest is an exhale. Your exhale is a cue to your body of safety, that moment of exhale. And if you think about it, so think about, when people get in like a heightened fight or flight state, when people are about to fight, and you see people getting angry, their breathing is more like it's that rapid and it's high up in the chest. And the thing is that when that happens, you're not oxygenating your body and you're building your blood pressure and you're heating your body up and you're doing all of these things. Well, the exhale has the exact opposite effect. It slows, it's deeper. If you do a slow, long exhale, it's deeper down in your lower chest region where you can actually fill your lungs with more air. There's more space down there. And so what I tend to do and what I've taught my daughters to do is 4 seconds in through your nose and 6 seconds out through your mouth. That's our favorite. But for different people, different things work and different things kind of resonate with different people. Some people just switching from inhaling through your mouth and exhaling through your nose, because that's not a norm, that acts as a bit of a disruptor and it calms the system too. Sometimes you can do like a 4-second inhale and an 8-second exhale, which is actually, for me, it's hard to do. I can't exhale for 8 seconds. By 6, I'm like, still trying to exhale. But there are so many breathing techniques. That's crazy. And different ones work for different people. They work, differently for you, for your physicality, for where you are in, your health and weight management and different things like that. And so one, I do some with my kids. I tried doing this with my 9-year-old, box breathing. And so it's 4 seconds in, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out, hold for 4 seconds. And she gets to where she's like, Mom, I have to breathe. You can't do that with me. And it's so funny. I love it. But so that one doesn't work with her, but she can do other ones. And so she really likes just a long inhale and then a really deep exhale. And we work on the exhale, letting your body relax. Just let your body relax. And if you feel tension or resistance, something somewhere in your body, for me, it tends to come up in my stomach. My daughter's comes up in her chest quite a bit. But if you feel that resistance, just put a hand on it, acknowledge it's there, just let your body know, okay, this is safe, and just exhale through it. And then, just slow your breathing and calm down through it. And granted, medical always, if there's some pains or something of concern, always go see a doctor. Always go do that. Don't breathe through a heart attack. That's not going to work. But pay attention to your body and where sensations are coming up in different places, because we get resistance. And it's funny because our nervous system works systematically. And so if you're getting resistance in your throat, you can get it to move down to your chest, and then you can get it to move from your chest down to your stomach. And when that resistance is loosening from your nervous system, when your nervous system is settling into a new state of being, it will actually shift to your legs and into your hips. And so when you start getting it into your hips, you're like, I'm good. that's where I'm good. And it just, that resistance and kind of pressure can move. And I remember one time I was focusing on a nervous system shift. And it was so funny because it was in my stomach and I was starting to do good. I was like, okay, it's shifting. And then the next thing I knew, it was in my legs and then my arms and my fingers shooting all over the place. And I got a little worried. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And kind of breathed and checked into my body for a minute, like, what, are we okay? What's going on? Do I need to go to the doctor? And it was funny because it was my nervous system going, is this okay? Are we okay here? Is this what, like, hold on, let me shoot off some signals all over the body and see if we're good. And it's interesting because we learned that those signals and those feelings, that's actually what builds up into anxiety and things like that. And it's your fear. The problem is you get to decide how you respond to those feelings. And they're really just signals. It's just a signal from your body that something's changing. I'm not 100% comfortable here. And you can choose, am I going to listen to it and let it rule and take over right now? Or am I going to go, okay, I see you. There you are. Let's press on. So you get to kind of choose because, our thoughts are not facts. And I work with a lot of my clients on that thoughts are not facts. It's just what's going on in your head. And the way that our system works, our unconscious and our nervous system, is they give us proof of what we're thinking, of what we're seeing. And so if I'm like, man, I'm poor, and I always say I'm so poor, my nervous system is going to show me more bills. More, more and more and more. But if I'm like, man, I'm so lucky, your nervous system and your unconscious is going to start giving you evidence of being lucky. And it's so cool because it's like obedient, our unconscious is obedient to our conscious, and it will give you evidence of what you're focusing on. And so if you're focusing on happiness and joy and connection and presence and all of these things, your nervous system and your unconscious starts going, oh, here's some. Oh, here's some. Let's go on that. And it's funny because, we look at that bit of information and we go, yeah, it gives us evidence of it. Well, the unconscious, its job is to delete, distort, and generalize, because our conscious only takes in, small bits of information, but our unconscious takes in billions of bits of information. And so it has to filter through. And so when we go, I want to focus on this, it goes, okay, here you go, get rid of the rest. And so you could, if your focus is on joy and health and happiness, it's like, you get into a car wreck or something. Well, if your focus is all on the bad, then you're going to focus on the bad part of the car wreck. But when you're focusing on joy and happiness and health and all of those good feelings, then the car wreck happens and you go, is everyone okay? We're all good. Okay. We're safe. We're good. We have insurance to take care of the car. This is going to be a minor inconvenience, but we're good, and that's really how our systems work. And it's like this magic obedient pet that we can tell, go get me the happy toy, go get me the happy squeaky toy over there. And it's like, okay, here you go, and it brings it back to you. So our systems are just these miraculous, powerful things that we really have so little information about. So, yeah.
Wow. But also, this is so empowering because it really reminds me of, we can control our destiny. Our thoughts shape our reality. As you said, like what we focus on, we manifest. That's where we're bringing a lot of different, areas in together now. And you just reminded me, I was reminded of it in another book earlier that where sport like skiers or off-road cyclists, when they're practicing this kind of like a zigzagging between trees, what they do is not like, don't hit a tree, don't hit a tree. They're not focusing on the trees. They're looking for the path. They're looking like, where is the path? They're looking for what they want is a clear path. So this is a great lesson for us. So like, look for the clear path. Like, what do I want? And as you describe beautifully, what we focus on, what we say we want, what we steer our intention towards, we're gonna get. And I've mentioned it several times on our podcast here before, but I will mention it again, that couple years ago, I have decided that I do not get sick. I had decent proof by the time that I have a strong immune system, but I was like, you know what? I am going all in on completely believing and being fully convicted with self-assurance I do
Mhm.
not get sick. And out of nowhere, my annual cold, my this, my that disappeared. Like I have not been sick in 5, 6 years. And even with people sick around me, with me getting antibiotics because of an extracted tooth, weakening my immune system and people being sick around me, I was like, I had maybe a half a day of like, oh, I'm feeling slightly down. And then I'm like, nope, I'm good again. So
I
it's a simple proof, but hey, I
right.
truly
I
believe it
love
works.
I love that you brought up your health because it's so funny. My husband, he's like, I never get sick. I never get sick. He has said that his entire life. And so guess what? He doesn't get sick. If he does, it's full-blown man cold. It's like dying, you know. But then for me, it was I was told when I was younger, God, you're always sick. And so it kind of became part of my habit that I'm always sick. I'm always sick. And so what happens? I'm always sick. So I've had to do the same thing. I've had to change that. And it's so funny because you say, we focus on what we want, like find the path. I can't tell you how many people have said to me, well, I don't want. And it's like, no, no, no. No, you don't get to do it like that because you're unconscious. It doesn't differentiate between do and don't. It's just one. And so it doesn't process in the negative. So if you're saying, I don't want drama, it gets drama. So you're going to get more drama in your life. And so you really have to figure out if you don't want drama, what's the opposite of it? What is your opposite of that? And that's the thing that you want. I want peace. I want calm. I want happy. I want joy. I want abundance. I want to feel fulfilled. And so you really have to phrase it in terms like that. And it's funny to me that that's how our system works. And so many people default to when you ask them, what do you want? Well, I don't want this. Well, why do you think you're getting this? It's so funny to me. And I can't tell you how many clients I've had that, well, I don't want this. And I get it. I get that's what you don't want. What do you want? What is the thing we are driving towards? What is our goal? What is the thing we are headed towards? Well, I don't want more work. Well, okay. And it's let's rephrase that. Let's change the focus of it so that your unconscious can serve you like an obedient pet. You know what I mean? So it's so funny, but I love how you brought that up with the health. That's so funny to me.
I have never heard the nervous system described as a pet and go and get the
Right?
happy squeaky toy. So yeah, it's great.
Right?
It's my now inner pet.
It's it's
Go
an
find the
obedient
squeaky
dog.
toy.
Yeah, it's great. I saw somebody I can't even take credit for that. I saw somebody refer to it as that in a video where they were on stage and they were talking about like a dog with like 50 toys set around and they're like, bring me this. And the dog brings it and it's so happy because it did the thing. And that's what our unconscious is like. It's so funny, but it's how it
It's
works.
it's great, and it's a great metaphor, and it's a great visual to, because when you talk about nervous system,
Mhm.
you sort of think about the diagram that you learned in school when you were doing biology, and there's no sort of interaction. But when you bring
Mhm.
in a pet, most people have a pet,
Mhm.
whether it's a dog or cat or hamster or something, and it makes it more tangible in a way, more, okay, that makes sense. So thank you for that. That's a really great metaphor and visual for the nervous system, and something that makes more sense than a diagram in a biology book. When you get, this is your nervous system, it's like, okay, great, that looks like a stick person, but okay, cool,
Right.
no worries. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So this is the section that we call our gold nuggets. This is where we ask, Hadan, may we
Mhm.
please have your gold nugget?
I always go back to thoughts are not facts. That just it's a simple one and it's so profound and it's not something that we ever really process. Uh, just the idea that I can be thinking this whole complex thing, right? And then my kids will say something and it just knocks me kind of out of my train of thought. And then it's like, well, I don't know if that was true or not. I don't have a clue, and as women, we do this all the time where we rethink conversations and, well, they meant this and they thought this and they da 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 da, and we go on and on and on. And no, you don't. You don't know that they thought this. You don't know that they meant this. You don't know that they intended for this or they wanted this thing. You don't have a clue. We don't know what somebody else is thinking, processing, doing. And so that thought is not a fact. And so it's funny to me because the people who will, well, it is what it is, are so powerful and they're so calm and they're so at peace in themselves. And every time I hear somebody say, well, it is what it is, it's like they have this innate wisdom that they don't know the other thing. There's so much more information out there. And I use my mom so often for reference and ideas and things that happen because I talk to her like daily. So she got an email from some people she contracts for the other day, and they're like, oh, great opportunity. And that was like the email. And so she was like, da, 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 all these ideas in her head. And I'm like, you don't know. They said opportunity. That's it. That's all you got. You don't know. Don't worry about it. Don't overthink it. Just, okay, I'll talk to you on this day. And she's like, what? Well, how do you let it go? She stopped thinking about it. And she's like, how do I stop thinking about it? Tell yourself your thought is not a fact and think about something that actually serves you. Change your thought to something good. Change it to, I can't wait to do this thing, or this will be so much fun, or, oh, I want to do that project again, or, oh, that felt really good when somebody gave me a compliment. Just shift it, because the thoughts aren't facts. They're just thoughts. That's it. They only have the power that you give them. That's it.
So powerful. Thoughts, not facts. I
Right?
love that. Simple, sweet, and it's worth putting on little post-it notes. Thank you so much for that beautiful gold nugget. So for our listeners who are listening, who want to get in touch with you, maybe they want to avoid burnout, maybe they know that they are in burnout and they're just wanting to find ways to deal with it, or help themselves to get better. People just want to be in your circle. However, where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time. And if you look up my name, if it's spelled correctly, it's Hadon. I'm the only one. I'm the only one. You can Google me. And if you look up Hadon, I'm the only one in the world. So just find me by doing that. You can go on LinkedIn, or you can go to my website. It's www.confidencecollectivecoaching.com. No spaces, just one word. So that's the best way to get a hold of me. But find me on LinkedIn and just send me a DM, because I'm always talking to people on there. So yeah.
And we'll make sure to add those links in the description below. So if people, just want, they can click and go straight there.
Well, of course. Yeah, I think I gave you guys the link to schedule a call with me. So if anybody wants to, they can schedule a call and we can talk about how thoughts are not facts.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this was incredible. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for spending this time and sharing so many valuable, interesting things with us. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. I had so much fun with you guys. I love doing podcasts. So much fun.
It is. And to our wonderful listeners, we're curious to know, what have you gotten from today? What was the one aha moment that you realize, okay, I can do this. This is something I can start implementing to help yourself beat out of burnout, or simply out of just feeling meh, overworked, stressed. We would love to hear from you. But until next time, see you soon. Bye.